Hawks Nation, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the HawksFanTV podcast. Want to apologize again for the slight hiatus that we had last week. Alex was actually out of town, even out of the country, and I got pretty caught up with work, so we just couldn't squeeze one out last week. But again, we'll be better about that going forward. I'm actually currently in Atlanta, as you can tell. I'm on the road, not in my normal studio. I'm in town for the Meet the Team event, which I went to last night. And the Warriors game this Friday. So I'm super excited to be here. I'll talk about the Meet the Team event and all the cool things that happened there a little later on in the episode. First, want to mention, right now I know it's exciting, but hard to be excited at the same time. Obviously, we got a new coach, and people are still excited about that. But the results haven't exactly translated on the court the way that we'd want them to right away. The Hawks are 5-5 since the All-Star break. It's obviously 500 and not exactly what we were hoping for them to be. But I actually talked to Coach Joe Prunty last night about that. I'll get into that a little later in the episode, but he kind of eased my nerves a little bit with some of the things he said. I'll share those comments with you guys as well. But yeah, guys, as I mentioned, the attitude or just the mentality in Hawks Nation right now. I do wish it could be a little more positive, but I understand some people that we're kind of expecting Quinn to come in and turn things around. That's what happened when LP left and Nate took over. But keep in mind, with that being said, Nate did take over. He didn't come in. It was something that Nate could kind of just continue what was happening, which is something Prunty kind of commented on. Again, I'll get to that a little later. But yeah, man. So first, I'll talk about the event because I'm still super excited from it. It happened last night. It was one of the cooler things I think I probably have done. We got to walk around the court. Go to the practice court, shoot some shots. I only shot one shot. I did make it. I have video proof of that too for any doubters out there. We played this game where it's like each side shoots and it's different shots, and a bunch of little kids on my side, so I gracefully let them shoot in front of me. I only got one off, but I did make it, so I'm pretty proud of myself on that. Ended up meeting some of the players. The lines were really long. I think that's a different conversation. That's something that I may talk to my sales rep about how, is there any way we can make those lines a little quicker, a little shorter? So with that being said, I did only get it and end up seeing Bogey, Sadiq, DeAndre, and Clint. I saw a few people, as I mentioned, Coach Prunty, Kyle Korver, Landry Fields out on the floor, just walking around, got some pictures with them and had some quick convos. But as far as like the stations, those were the only ones I was able to go to. Sorry about that. My video's been messing up, guys. So those were the only stations I was able to get to go to. But, the way it worked, I wasn't able to really have like an in-depth conversation with any of them. Obviously, all the dudes seemed really cool. I think it was funny. DeAndre, he always kind of seems a little more timid, shy, for lack of a better term there. And he definitely is that way when you talk to him. Bogey was awesome. Got to call him Brate. He called me Brate back. He called my girlfriend Sestra, which is sister. So just it was just cool, man. It was a cool experience. It's something that if you are a member or thinking about becoming one, I'm telling you right now, it's almost worth the membership, the season tickets alone for an event like that. It was pretty darn cool. We had people asking Bogey if he was going to stay this off season, and he just kind of did the whole like shrug, like he doesn't really know yet. Which, I mean, of course, at an event like that, he's not going to give any real information out. But just thought it was neat that you were able to get that kind of in up close personal experience with these players. But it was an awesome event. Can't thank the Hawks enough for putting that on. It was something that I'd been looking forward to since it was announced. As I mentioned, you got to go to the practice court. You got to walk through the locker room real quick. Which was just too cool. Got to go to the media room, which some HawksFanTV members have already been there. So we're trying to make our stake in that media room. It felt pretty cool to be there. But just walking around, having full access to everything. They had complimentary food and drinks, and when I say drinks, I don't just mean sodas for those adults out there. So it was awesome, man. It was a real cool experience. It's something that I'm very, very happy I was able to make the trip up to make it. And it was awesome. It was awesome. Some got some of the comments about some of the people I met. Kyle Korver, I had to say, was just the most calm person I've ever met. And, with him being so clutch and calm and collected as a player, it just made sense. He was so chill, took my picture with me, signed my hat even. Super nice guy. Thanked him for coming in and fixing the team. And he said, "Oh man, it's a group effort on that one." So pretty humble guy as well. Ended up talking to Landry Fields right after. It weirdly enough, as I mentioned, I lived in Jacksonville currently, so I do have a Jaguars phone case at the moment. So we ended up talking about the Jaguars more than we talked about the Hawks. But it was cool to meet him. And each situation, there was obviously like a line of people, even when it weren't actual designated stations like Kyle Korver and Landry Fields. So with that being said, there were times where I didn't, want to have an extended conversation when people were, patiently waiting behind me. So, but it was an incredible experience nonetheless. Again, I cannot sell the event enough. If it's something you are on the fence about, or if you weren't able to make it this year, but you're thinking about next year, I highly suggest it, man. It was too cool. It was way too cool. But I think the highlight of my night, honestly, was the conversation that I ended up having with Coach Prunty. Because not only was Prunty one of the nicest guys ever, I'll kind of get in that in just a second. But we did have an extended conversation. It was a conversation that he welcomed and almost wanted, which was just so cool, so down to earth. So I'll kind of tell it how it worked. I see Prunty standing there. He takes a picture of somebody. They walk away. I introduce myself, say hello, tell him how thankful I am that he's on the staff. Thank him for those 2 games. That was awesome. He said he'd heard of HawksFanTV. I mentioned to the rest of the crew. I don't know if he was just being nice, but hey man, if he's telling the truth, that's pretty awesome that a coach on the staff has heard of HawksFanTV. But I can admit I got not necessarily starstruck, but at that point, I had a few adult beverages, and I just said, I just smiled. I was like, I don't really know what to say, man. And he just patted me on the shoulder and said, "Let's just talk ball, man." And I tell that because it just in that moment, it was so cool. I felt like these social barriers almost come down. I didn't feel nervous anymore. So, Coach Prunty, if you ever hear this, man, thank you for that. That was one of the coolest experiences I've had in some time. And, I gave you your flowers as a coach. I'll give you your flowers as a person, man. That was too cool. So now, as I'm sure some of you are wondering, what did we really talk about, right? So really the main thing he talked about, and it's the first thing he talked about, like he went into this, he kind of started the conversation with this, was that, we live in a world today, and he didn't use the terms anything like this generation or that. No, he just said we live in a world, all of us, any age, where instant gratification has become something that people are just accustomed to and almost expect. And, for certain things on your cell phone or ordering food off Uber Eats or whatever it is, right? There are certain things where you can expect that instant gratification. And, because of that, it'll seep into other areas of your life. I, for one, am definitely guilty of this. There are certain things that I want now. If I order something, even from Amazon, who's the quickest one, I'm like, I want it now, man. So this whole instant gratification thing, it knows no discrimination. Okay. It affects all of us. So, he obviously is getting at this, and I understand where he's getting at. He's saying, everybody wanted Quinn Snyder to come in and just fix it instantly, and the Hawks go on a 20-game winning streak and win a championship and all of that, and that's just not how it's going to work or how it will work. And it's one of those things that I know on Twitter, I've said it, other people have said it, and then there's other people that get very annoyed by people saying this, and they're rightfully annoyed. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, but you got to give it time, man. These things take time, and he even mentioned something that people have kind of mentioned online, that Quinn didn't come in and start implementing things right away. He did. He's trying to identify, okay, what can I essentially keep a part of this culture, a part of this scheme, a part of this mentality that we have here, and what needs to go away. So, there's been some growing pains, undoubtedly. I will be the first to say that this has not been exactly what I expected it to be right off the bat. I will admit that this has everything to do with 2021 and when Nate took over, because I don't remember the exact number. I think it was like 11 to 13 games or something. We did have a crazy winning streak. We turned it around. We obviously ended up going to the conference finals. I don't know if that exact thing is going to happen this year. But you know what ended up happening the season after that? We were the 8th seed. We were, all over the place. We would lose to the worst teams, beat the best teams. And Prunty even said that last night. He's like, this team is a team that, will continue to beat the best teams in the league and lose to the worst. And it's just something that is very perplexing and a little frustrating. And obviously it's something that they have not even figured out or truly understand at the end of the day. So, you do, man. I know it's annoying at this point, but you have to give it time. And if you give it time, I promise the potential that's growing into something that we all want, which is a championship winning team, maybe even championships. It can happen. And it's still possible. It's still a possibility in our future. It's still the realm of possibility. It can happen for sure. So another couple of things Prunty talked about. He did mention, as a lot of us feel, that this last Monday, the game against the Timberwolves was arguably the worst loss of the entire season. We looked horrible. If you follow me on Twitter, I actually was at a work dinner. I wasn't able to watch it. Yeah, I watched the highlights. I looked at the box score. I read any analysis I could find on it. It was a horrible game through and through. Trey had a great game, but I mean, it literally reminded me of Trey's rookie season. Trey's got a great stat line. Rest of the team is garbage, and we got our butts kicked, right? It's not something that this team can even be remotely acceptable for this team. Sorry. But something that he said that I think is, admittedly, depending on what's going on, it can be frustrating to hear things like this, but at the end of the day, it's good. And he said that, because the game was on Monday, their next one is on Friday. They've had all week to practice. And he said that spirits are high, that the guys are still coming in, having fun, smiles on faces, eager to learn, eager to get better. And that's something that, yes, that is a change that Quinn has brought in. Whether it's just the, freshness of it that is still holding on, or it is legitimately because these guys are much more willing and, able to do this for a new staff. I personally love hearing that the team is in high spirits, man. I don't want to hear that they're just, don't get me wrong. I think I would probably love hearing more that they just seemed really angry and really determined. But again, I think second best is easily that they're in high spirits and they're feeling good. And, they're, he mentioned that, this team, I think this was honestly something that I wasn't really expecting him to say to me, but he did say, and this is why, I think the spirits are high going into this, because I think the spirits are high because they know that they've been behind and that the best is still in front of them. So that's why the spirits are high. And with the next thing I'm about to say, Prunty mentioned to me that, the staff and the players alike, they are all aware and just like us, frustrated by the fact that they are behind. They did not think that after that 2021 playoff run, that 2 years later that we would be in this boat. They thought we'd be the Grizzlies, basically, fighting for a number 1 or 2 seed. Obviously the Grizzlies have got a lot of stuff going on right now, so maybe they're not the best example, but you understand what I mean in just in terms of the actual team success. So it's something that, the team is very aware of, that they are behind on this one. And they're not satisfied at all. And again, I know for a lot of people, you're going to hear that, and excuse my French, you're going to be like, yeah, no shit. Okay. They should feel that way. They should be frustrated. And that is an argument that I won't have with you, because I agree. But at the end of the day, man, I'd much rather them at least realize it than think, hey, we're fine over here. We're doing great. Cause it's something that just has to improve. So, it's this team not being satisfied. I personally like it, because obviously it means they want more, but it does mean that they understand that they have kind of not hit the bar, if you will, and they have to pick it up. Whether that happens for the rest of March and April this year, or we see it going in the next season, that is yet to be decided. But I can tell you this, it is good that this team is not satisfied. So yeah, again, I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating to hear. I don't even want to keep saying it, but it is the truth. sometimes the truth can be annoying and hard to hear, but you got to give it time. We got to give this time, and have faith in this team, and it's something that I do. I do have full faith in this team. So talking with Prunty was great. Last thing he did say, I kind of mentioned it as we were wrapping up the conversation, that hey, if you could let us know, is Quinn going to plan on keeping you on his staff? He said, obviously, he doesn't know yet, but he did mention that he would gladly accept the position, and that, he didn't say verbatim pleasantly surprised, but that was definitely the gist of what he was saying, that he has just been pleasantly surprised about how much he and his family all love the city of Atlanta. So, say that with a smile, because that's what Atlanta does to you, man. You move here and you fall in love with it. So, I would love for Prunty to remain on staff, just like I'm sure a lot of you would as well. It's good to hear from the man himself that he would love to stay on staff. I mentioned to some people at the event last night, and they agreed with me on this take of that. I would think Quinn would want to keep him, not only because does it seem like that Prunty does actually have a high basketball IQ and can help in that aspect, but it's very clear that the players have a lot of respect for him and really like him. And, that way you can keep some level of continuity with them, some level of familiarity with these players coming into ultimately a new system and a new staff next season. So would love to see Prunty stay. And, if he ends up somewhere next season, can't thank you enough, Prunty. And thank you, obviously, for our personal interaction. That was one of the cooler ones I've had, man. So yeah. So we'll kind of wrap up all the positive stuff with the team event and how fun that was. And with the second half of the episode, we'll kind of go into that the Hawks are continuing to have, just for lack of a better term here, some struggles. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, the Hawks are 5-5 since the All-Star break, which, you can take that with a grain of salt if you want. But for me, I'm just going to call a spade and say that, the Hawks were a 500 basketball team before the All-Star break and before we fired Nate, and that was unacceptable, and we were all pissed off, and they've been a 500 team since then. And, I just said that you have to give it time, so I'm not going to sit here and change my tune and say that I'm pissed off about it. I'm more so just saying that, hey, this is not what I expected. I'm not necessarily satisfied with it, but at the end of the day, I do think it was almost a little naive to think that Quinn was going to come in and just completely change everything. That's just not how it works. So, with that being said, it's for those of you that are frustrated, for those of you who are a little pissed off right now, I think you have every right to, but it's exactly what Prunty was saying, and what I've been saying. You have to give it time. There is no such thing as instant gratification, especially in a professional sport like basketball. And it's just something that is going to take time. It's been said on Twitter and in articles, and I'm sure at this point, from some of the things Prunty said and just kind of the mentality I got, it's probably something they've even realized, that the 2021 conference finals run at the end of the day was a blessing and a curse. Okay, it was a blessing because it was this awesome experience for them. They gained a lot of experience. Obviously for the fans, it was one of the coolest things I think I've ever experienced. But at the end of the day, it's a curse because the expectations for this team went sky high. I remember there was that poll that summer where they polled all the different GMs and asked who had the best young core in the NBA, and the Hawks were number one. Like it, we went from they're a good team, I guess, to like, wow, this is a team that any GM would want to take over because of how young and talented they are. So with that being said, I think that it kind of slowed down the progression that the team was on, because it's kind of like you made this leap when you kind of shouldn't have, and you plateaued because of it. So, so with all that being said, I'm not okay with the fact that we're 500, but at the end of the day, I don't want another fool's gold conference run. Okay. Conference finals run. You know what I want? I want a legitimate run where if we do lose in the conference finals or the finals or whatever it is, we pull like essentially kind of like a Phoenix where, dude, they're back in the finals or conference finals the next year. So it's it's tough, man. There's a lot of mixed emotions, a lot of mixed feelings right now with the Hawks, and it is what it is. I still have full faith in this roster. I still have full faith in this staff. I think all of you should too. Last night, if anything, talking to other Hawks fans, obviously Coach Prunty, little quick conversations with Landry and Kyle Korver. I'm telling you right now, none of them are under the impression that they've made a mistake here or that this isn't going to be something that could ultimately win them a championship. And look, guys, it's one of those, I don't mean this in any insulting manner, but they know better than we do. Okay. They're in those positions because they do know better. They do know what they're doing. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So it hasn't been the best, but it is what it is. I think as Hawks fans, we just need to kind of relax a little bit, enjoy the rest of the season if we can. If we end up getting into the dance, that's something that Landry Fields even said last night. It's a tournament. That's really what he said. He goes, "Hey man, it's a tournament. If they can get in, they know that they can still make some noise like they did in 2021." But I will say this: I don't think, as got proven last year, that the Hawks will be able to make much noise if we get in as the 8th seed. So I think at the lowest we got to shoot for the 7. But that is just how the rest of the season will shape out. I'll kind of get in that a little bit, but before I do, want to go ahead and pay a couple bills around here. Our guys at Firmament Solutions have always been there for us. We've always been there for them. Here's a message from them. Hope you guys enjoy.
When you need quick, effective, and accurate data cabling services, call Firmament Solutions. We care about your network infrastructure. Our services are white labeled, so you get the contracts. We provide the services. Our expertise includes low voltage communication, networking, electrical, physical security, and life safety equipment. We're industry leaders, providing 24-hour service coverage. So we ask, when is the best time to have one of our certified technicians assist you?
All right, guys. Always love hearing that from our guys at Firmament. Check them out if it's anything you guys need. They're doing great things over there. So to kind of wrap up this week's episode and what the rest of the season should look like, or what we would hope it would look like. So for myself personally, I think the best case scenario is that the Hawks do make the playoffs, most likely via the play-in at this point. I know the 6th seed isn't, it's not impossible that, we're not mathematically out of it at this point, but I got to be real. I don't think we will make the 6th seed at this point. So it'll most likely be via the play-in. Like I said, if we can get the 7th seed, I think, there's a way higher chance that we could actually make some noise. I guess it depends on who the 2nd seed is, but hey, that's going to play out and we'll see. But to continue the best case scenario, we make the playoffs, most likely via the play-in, and then we win at least one round. And maybe not at least one round, but at least more than one game. Because winning the one game last year, sure, it was fun. I was there. Trey hitting that shot was incredible. I think that's arguably the loudest I've ever heard State Farm Arena. But ultimately, winning the one game, it was a little bit of a tease, if you will. So I think it would be great if we could win at least one round. Saying that because if we lose in the second round, the conference semifinals, obviously that's, at that point, it would suck. I'm not going to, downplay that at all. But I do think winning that first series would at least give the team some confidence, let them know, not only with the players, but the coaches as well, like, okay, we can win a playoff series with this team. Maybe it's one of those scenarios where losing the second round, they're able to identify what they don't need to do in the playoffs, what maybe works for them in the regular season, but doesn't work for them in the playoffs. So, I think that's the best case scenario, making the playoffs and having being this kind of confidence gaining experience. Something like what felt like 2021, where, it was a bonding experience, for lack of a better term, for the team. So, just something that could gain them confidence, not only with the players, but the staff as well. And, just, get that confidence up for the 2023-2024 season. With all this being said, obviously the best case scenario is that they win a championship. And as Alex always likes to mention when I say, we may not, he's like, oh, we could. And that is true. We could. I just like to try and be a little more rational at times, because I've learned in my years, if I convince myself they're going to win a championship and they don't, it hurts a little bit more when I just accept reality and kind of, go along with that. So best case scenario, obviously they win a championship, but in all reality, best case scenario is probably more so that we do get in the playoffs. We win the one series. We gain a little bit of confidence. Maybe we take the conference semifinal series against whoever to 6, maybe 7 games, and with that gain even more confidence for the next season. But I do think a championship this season is probably not going to happen. Anyways, so obviously with best case scenario, that being the situation, got to mention what would be worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, and obviously I'm knocking on all the wood in the world, hoping that I'm not speaking this into existence. But it would definitely be that the Hawks continue to play 500 basketball, or maybe even sub 500 basketball. Whether that's the sub 500 and makes it where they don't even make the playoffs, where they keep playing 500, they get into the play-in, and either lose in the play-in, which I don't think that'll happen. I think because I think he proved it last year. Trae Young, in a 1-game series, loser go home, winner take all, whatever, dude's gonna go off and just take over the game. So doubt we would lose in the play-in, but losing in the play-in. But I think it would almost be even worse to win in the play-in and then have a repeat of last year where we win maybe 1 game in the first round. I don't think that really does much in a confidence gaining aspect for the team. I think if anything, it probably hurts the team's confidence at that point. But with all of that, if that ends up happening, this is the second part of what I'm about to say is something I don't want to happen, but it would. It's just how it goes. We've seen it happen this season. We've seen it happen in previous season, and we would be naive to think that the national media and especially the local media wouldn't do this. And that's that the drama train would start. It would just be so much drama and so much just crap revolving around the Hawks and how Trae Young can't play with these players and he's a coach killer and DeJounte should have stayed in San Antonio and all this. It's just going to be awful. So it's the worst case scenario isn't even just that the Hawks lose. It's all of the crap that comes with it that, not only as a fan, but someone who, covers Hawks at this point, I feel like I have to defend because these are our guys. I'm not going to, I'll sit there and criticize them when they deserve criticism, but I'm damn for sure not just going to, talk smack on them for no reason. I know the game of basketball at their level is very hard. It's very hard to win. That's why, it seems like the same 5 teams, or I guess same 5 players really, always win because there's a formula and they figured it out and it's not something they're, willing to give up. But, with all that being said, I don't see the worst case scenario happening. If I could put money on it, I would. I don't see that happening at all. But I do feel like it's worth mentioning that, hey, this is just as much as it's a possibility that we could end up winning a championship. It's just as much a possibility that we end up playing sub 500 basketball for the rest of the season, maybe not even make the playoffs. So hopefully I'm not speaking in existence. Please don't come for me if that happens. I'm just trying to be a little realistic about, our approach, our mentality, if you will, for the rest of the season as fans. So I will wrap up all of that with saying something that I feel like I've said a million times at this point, but I'm going to say it 1,000,001 times. We got to keep the faith alive, guys. We got to give it some time. And, it's one of those things that, we're not going to get this instantly, but when it comes, it's going to be so much more satisfying. I can guarantee it. So if you're looking for instant gratification when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks, I think you should probably stop watching games, cancel your subscription to Bally Sports, and just pick up a controller and play some 2K, because the instant gratification with the Atlanta Hawks, as you probably are starting to realize for some of these younger fans, it ain't there. But the satisfaction that can and will come when it happens, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be one of the better feelings you ever have. So keep the faith alive, guys. Keep the faith alive. As I mentioned, I'll wrap it up on that. Before I go, obviously want to thank you guys for following and listening to the podcast, the account, the spaces, the articles. We're trying to bring you guys as much content as we can. We've got some other ideas in the books that hopefully we can get out soon and you guys will enjoy. We got our merch coming soon. As you can see, I'm rocking the HawksFanTV red hoodie, got the skyline of Atlanta on the back. As you saw, Alex has the one in white. I got the one in red. We are thinking about doing other colors as well. Obviously, would love some feedback from you guys on that one. But yeah, guys, check us out on all platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Be sure to leave comments, reviews, anything, even if they're negative, man. You know, we want to get better and we want to grow too. So let us know how we're doing, what you think. And as always, thank you guys so much for the support, and go Hawks, baby.